Greetings, everyone. Welcome to our channel, BRE Productions. And then we are here again in our shop in BRE Racing Team and Services. And then we're going to be talking about brakes again. Last time we were talking about what happened with the uneven wear and tear of the brake pads because of the piston pin. They normally don't move properly. Happened also to this new client. And then also we're going to be talking about what happened with the brake fluids. This is a very old brake fluid. Of course, this is a new brake fluid. So how can we determine when the brake fluid has to be changed? And then we're gonna do a little experiment, and then we're gonna see why it's important to have a proper tool. Like this tool from Toptul, then we have a brake fluid tester, and then this one will tell us if the brake fluid is usable or not. Now to bleed the system, also we're going to be using this tool, which is the bleeder, and then it's going to help us to see if we still have any air in the system or not as we bleed. We're going to be talking also about the problem that we have in here. The previous people that were working on this one, they put too much paste, and then I really don't think they used the correct paste. I think they used grease, and that grease was spilling out, and it got to the face, the contact face of the brake pad, and as well as the contact face of the rotor, and that generated something really bad. You can see it's glazed. And then I don't know if you guys watched the movie Gran Turismo. They were complaining about the brakes are glazed and everything. They did not expand so much explaining what is that, but we're gonna explain today how to do it. There are two types, and then there is only one can be fixable. The other one is really not fixable. So when the brakes get glazed, there are two ways. Normally, there are two ways and how does it happen. One of the ways is because there was a presence of a lubricant in the face of the rotor or in the face of the brake pads, and then they were using that way. And because of the lack of friction, in it, what happened is you need to produce a lot of more force in the caliper. You need to say you have to spread on the brake pedal harder and generate heat. And that heat with the lubricant, basically you're cooking the brakes with a lubricant. So the face of the rotor and the face of the brake pad, it get impregnated with the lubricant. And that's why it gets glazed. Now, when is that happen, we can actually reface the pads and then reface the rotors. In this case, we can see that it's really not that deep. So we will do it with the sandpaper. We're gonna get a flat surface. We're gonna in the sandpaper like a glass, and then as well we're gonna do it for the rotor. And the rotor seems to be in good condition. There are no major scratches or major lines, but it's really damaged because of that one. But we need to remove that layer only. The other way happens is when your brake rotors or brake system gets way too hot. And then, like in racing, they get really hot. There is no time to cool down, and then the whole metal gets damaged. Sometimes even it warps. So at that level, when the metal had changed already their characteristics, there is no other option but to change the whole part. But for street cars, most of the times we can save the brake pad and the brake rotor. One more thing, I want to show you guys here in a close-up. Okay, as you guys can see, it's very shiny. There is a real friction. Even when you do it with the screwdriver, nothing is happening. Look at this portion in here. See, even the sound is different. Abrasive, almost none, almost none, almost none. Abrasive. So the part that didn't touch is still abrasive, these two parts. Yeah, so that one we can tell that somehow the material of the brake pad is still okay. It's just only the outer layer. As well as for the rotor. See, you will not be able to make just very superficial scratches, but it's extremely shiny. Extremely shiny. Even if I try to put a lot of effort, almost nothing happens. Just only very superficial scratches. So we have to remove all this superficial layer. and use a brake cleaner as well, and then put it back together, and then it's gonna be good. All right, so now we're gonna be working on the brake pads, on the surface of the brake pads. As you can see, they are very shiny. Can you see the reflection? Okay, so we have to remove all that one. So what we need is glass and then sandpaper. The grade I'm using right now is 80 grade sandpaper, and then after that I can use something a bit smoother. Then you go here in circles. Look at the difference. You can start to see right away the difference in color. Then doesn't mean it's yet finished. Okay, look at the beauty. You guys can see the difference. It's evident. Okay, look at that one. So this one is very clear that there are no lines and everything. So meaning to say, the surface of the rotor was still okay, and then it's still okay in the brake pad. But look at the difference now. So this brake pad is glazed. This one is okay now. All right. Remember Young in the driver in the movie Gran Turismo when he was saying the brakes are glazed, and then you remember what happened. So that was because the brakes were glazed. Glazed brakes, good brakes. Remember, we were able to save these brake pads for the only reason that the glaze, the happening here, was given by presence of lubricant. Now, if it was because of extreme heat, forget it. It's better to change the brake pad. Okay, we're gonna do the other one. Ta-da! They're beautiful again. There you go. Then now we proceed with the rotor. Remember, this one was happening because of the excess of lubricant in the face. So, and then it's for street use, it's not gonna be for any performance. When you are in the street, your brakes shouldn't get red hot. You shouldn't be driving that way in the streets, okay? All right, now we're gonna be talking about brake fluids. Cheers. All right, it's very obvious that this one is the old one and this one is the new one, so we have two new here. Okay, we're gonna put this one at the side first. This one is the new, this is the old, and then when you look at it, oh yeah, it's very old, you have to change it. Look at the color. Yes, the color can be only one of indicators, but it's not the ultimate indicator. The ultimate indicator is gonna be this a brake fluid indicator from Toptul. Why is it important? Because color is just only one aspect, but color doesn't necessarily mean it's really bad. All right, you press it on here, and then here are the two sensors. You put it into the brake fluid, and surprise! All right, it's totally red. It's gonna do very simple. Red means you cannot use it. Yellow means you still can use it. It's very difficult. It's very, very important that if it's only one yellow, that's gonna mean to say it's less than 1% of humidity or water inside. Okay, so like for example, this one on, it's only 1%. All right, so it's very clear that if they do the next one again, it goes totally red. All right, so it's obvious. But now we're gonna get the other brake fluid, and this is what I'm gonna say. This is also brand new brake fluid. And then how can we destroy this brake fluid? Water. That's it. Just few drops of water. And then we're gonna go test it out. Yellow. All right. We clean it. We reset. We turn it on. What does it say here? So totally red. Now that's what I'm talking about. You can do it visually. Oh, this one is bad, this one is good. But you do it visually, the two of them look good. They look okay. This one is good, this one is not good at all. Why? Because it's very clear in the tester says that this brake fluid has already more than 4% of water. Now, what does it mean? Why is it so bad? Why is water is so bad? Well, For once, the brake fluid really feel attracted to water, or it attracts water. That's one of the characteristics of the brake fluid. Actually, if you put brake fluid in your hand, you will feel it hot. It's because it's getting the moist from your skin. So that's how important it is to have a very good brake fluid. Now, the racing brake fluids, the purity is so high that they get contaminated so easily. That's why if you are in racing, I really suggest before every weekend race, you need to refresh your brake fluid just to make sure that you get the maximum benefit of it. All right. Now, secondly, now we're going to talk about this one. What happened? Why is it so bad to have presence of water in the brake fluid? Okay, as we know, a barometric pressure, the water boils at 100 Celsius. What happened is the brakes rotors, and all the brake system in the caliper, they get red hot when it's used heavily, meaning to say we are going way beyond 100 Celsius. So what happened? That water start to boil. And then what happened when the water boils? How do you know the water is boiling? Normally, you know the water is boiling because you see bubbles in it. And then bubbles is air or steam, whatever you want to call it. Now, if you have a presence of air in the fluid, in the brake fluid, in the system, that's it. You can compress the bubble instead of compressing the calipers, and that's why you lose brakes or you lose brake powers. That's why you feel that your brakes goes all the way to the bottom, and then the car will not slow down. All right, so we have here a syringe. This is the one I use to introduce few drops of water into this brake fluid, and then now this brake fluid is ruined. All right, so now why are we gonna use this on the syringe? I want to show you something. We have in here air, and if I close it and I put pressure over here, you see it goes back. So I can compress the air. It's very easy to compress air. You see, so that's what happened. Imagine the brake fluid has a bubble this big. If you will move the brake pedal, all this one, there will be no effect at all. Now, if we have a fluid like the brake fluid, we put it inside, and then I cover in here, and I try to press, cannot be pressed at all. Nothing. It doesn't move. I don't know if you can see the numbers over here, and then it's not moving at all. Nothing. So you see, because it's a solid fluid, it's as solid as a steel bar. But what happens if I introduce a little bubbles? Can you see the bubbles there? All right. And then now, look, now I can move it because I'm compressing that bubble. Look how small the bubble becomes when I compress it. So there you go, guys. That's the importance of having no air in your brake system. You know, in the hydraulic system of your brakes, there has to be zero air. Why would there be air? Let's say you empty the system. So you empty the system, you're gonna put a new brake fluid, and then you need to make sure that all the bubbles get out of from there. How do you do that one? Using this tool. So this one is a brake bleeder valve, and then it has a reserve bottle. I'm gonna show it to you guys. Basically what it is. So it has a hanger. It has a new hose, also a small hose with the clamp. You have the bottle. I want to talk about the bottle. There's a nice bottle in here. Sorry. There's a nice bottle in here, and then this bottle is for you to see how much fluid are you putting inside. And then the important thing here is this one. This one is basically the valve, and it has a check valve. So there is no reason for the bottle to go, the fluid to go back. Once you put this one over here, once you assemble everything, okay, I will not assemble it for now. When you assemble everything, you put your brake hose in a loop. Now, every time that you're doing the bleeding and you open the bleeder, fluid will go inside. And then because the hose is transparent, you can see if there is any bubbles coming out. Unless you don't see the fluid coming out solid, you need to continue bleeding. Now, Why do you have the bottle? It's simple. Brake fluid is very dangerous to the paint of the car. So you don't want to be splashing it everywhere and everything. However, all the fluid in here is gonna be thrown away. It has to be disposed. It's not for you guys to recycle it. All right? Remember, there is moist in the air. It's very important to not let moist go inside. So this one is not for you to recycle and use it again. Remember, guys, we have a problem in the Philippines. Is the humidity. Humidity is really high. So once this one is open in here, it's gonna be exposed to humidity. It's gonna start to contaminate your brake fluid. So every time that you're doing this one is to be disposed. Okay, dispose it properly. Please mind environment. Please do so. One more thing is, sorry about my hand. I've been working, so it's a little bit dirty. Now, this is also when you're using your brake fluid. It's very important that you open it, then you pour in the reservoir, and then you close it again, and close the reservoir. You really don't want to be having the brake fluid exposed to humidity more than what is needed. Fun fact: when it's raining, we never tap up brake fluid here in my shop. When it's raining, we don't do brake fluid replacement. Why? Because the humidity is at 100%. All right. So that's something to keep in mind. I hope you guys understood, the importance of this tool. You check it out again. You said brake good, good. Sorry. Now I don't know which one is which one. Let me see. There you go. This is the good one. And then we reset. And then, sorry, went off. Then we reset. And yeah, this is the bad one. As well as the other one. So visually we know that this one, but a while ago you see what the problem was. I got confused between the two. So again, which one is which one? Yes. There you go. And then the other one. Wait, I just need to reset. There. Here. Wow.